What's good, people? I'm Galanacci the Creator, a Manila-born, Cardiff-trained and London-raised artist, designer, creator, and I am the founder of Galanacci, a luxury human wear brand inspiring you to realize your full potential. And this week is week 24, and you're watching episode 23. And yeah, man, we'll just do a little recap of my week this week. And yeah, man, we'll get right into it. So this week I've been continuing with the Techpack creation, but I've meandered with 3D modeling the actual core hoodie because I needed to check some dimensions, specifically the hood, and as well as the lining that I designed for the hood. And I've been learning how to use Clo3D the past couple of days, and I've picked it up quite quickly since I have a background in architecture. So 3D modeling, all of that, CAD softwares, I'm pretty much used to it. It's just about getting familiar with the layout of the actual program that I'm using. But in terms of like the principles, they're all the same. So yeah, man, I picked it up quite quick and started modeling the actual core hoodie, which I have there at the back. One of the things I've sort of found out is it's so useful to be able to model your designs first. It's basically like you creating the garment at hand, but it's just digital. Having dimensions and being able to check if your dimensions are correct is so important, because in a tech pack you will have your dimensions in one of the pages, right? And you'll also include points of measurement, and this is how the manufacturers would double check whether what they've created falls in line with the dimensions that you've given them, and that will be all included in the tech pack that you create. A way for me to triple and quadruple check whether the dimensions that I've gathered are the right dimensions that I would like for the core hoodie for them to use to create the hoodie, right? That's why it's so important to make sure that the dimensions that you use are correct on the tech pack. You could either get someone else to double check it, let's say a pattern maker, or you can do it yourself. In my case, I'm doing it myself with my background in architecture, measurements and scales and whatnot. It's not like out of the ordinary, like it's something that I'm familiar with. So doing the whole kind of like measurement and dimensions myself is pretty straightforward. It's literally just grabbing a reference, whether it be a hoodie that I like in my wardrobe or any other pieces of garment, and then I would just start measuring it and or listing all of the measurements from the cuffs, from pit to pit, center back, center front, like the whole bunch. You could like research this on Google, and then you'll find how to measure a garment so that you can grab the measurements from it and the dimensions. So for this week's weekly sketch, I was inspired by my girlfriend's dance outfit that she wore a couple of days ago. Oh, in the weekend, sorry. And also I combined it with this outfit, specifically the skirt of this lady that I saw on the train. She was wearing a denim skirt, and I loved how it was like snug fit, but also it's a long skirt, and it just looked nice, you know? Especially the denim, and then it had fraying at the very end of the skirt. Quite like that detail. So as you can see on this time lapse, I was creating this look on the top of my head and just putting my own touch, the Galanacci touch. You can see that my style is more of this minimalistic but also sort of futuristic style, as you can see here. And yeah, I just love the asymmetry of the top, and then also the textures of it, because you have the ribbing across the chest, and then also the off shoulder part on one side, or both sides really, but then one has a sleeve and then the other is sleeveless. And then obviously this is in contrast with the symmetrical long denim skirt with the K2G emblem on the waistband. And yeah, it's a dope look. And I was actually thinking of modeling this in 3D, just like the hoodie behind me, just to see and understand how to actually pattern make such clothing. It's actually very important to lean on your strength so that it outweighs your weaknesses. I see this playing when I'm 3D modeling. I'm very proficient at 3D modeling because of my background, the architectural background. But my sewing skills, on the other hand, it's very basic. I've made a jumper from scratch before. I've made a couple of samples here and there that are quite complex, especially with like a faux leather, which is more intricate, especially with the design I was doing for that sample. Overall, my sewing skills aren't as good as my 3D modeling. Therefore, I leaned on the 3D modeling in order to understand garment construction and pattern making using Clo3D, as you can see behind me. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to learn how to sew. It's just that I'm going to use the route of 3D modeling for me to understand garment construction. Also, when I've pattern made on the software, it's easier for me to just print it out and then cut it out from the fabric and then sew the pieces together, instead of pattern making it by hand and hand drafting it, because that requires a little bit more precision, and then you would also need the tools for it. But since I have the Clo3D software, I can just use that, and then through that I can learn sewing and understand how to create such garment over time. I tend to peep the game of other brand builders, and when I say peep the game, I sort of download whatever they're doing, you know, and then apply it into my own strategy, especially if it's something that I resonate with. So shout out to Eddie Vidal. He's been posting these mood board for his brand Galatina. It basically just shows off the creative direction for the brand in terms of the atmosphere, the vibe, the sort of creative direction, especially if he was to do the campaigns and whatnot. And this is something I have yet to explore with Galanacci, although I have a general direction of how I would like Galanacci to be perceived through the creative direction when it comes to campaign shoots, to product placement and whatnot. So I think this is something I want to start implementing and start pushing out there, because it's easier for people to understand your brand if they can see what sort of vibe you're trying to have in the near future. I want people to understand the visuals and the creative direction that Galanacci is trying to or will embody in the future. So for my daily routines, I've been doing affirmations really. So I created 13 laws of Galanacci, and these are just 13 laws that I've sort of lived by. So I have it there pinned up on the back actually. And it's just a list of sort of these short quotes that I made. Some are inspired by familiar quotes, but the rest or most of them are coined by me. And one of my favorite ones is number 13, which is, if you have no purpose, then you have no direction. And that's what I'm trying to do with Galanacci. Galanacci is about realizing your full potential, and that full potential is your purpose. So being able to live your purpose is you knowing your direction. So I'm very fortunate to know my purpose. That's why I'm very heavy on pursuing it, and I talk about my brand, I document my journey, I record the behind the scenes and everything in between. I've created this 13 laws as a form of affirmation. For me, it's reminding myself of, okay, these are the 13 things that you should keep in mind whenever you're, I don't know, feeling down or feeling unmotivated and whatnot. It's sort of my North Star, you know, just to realign myself every single day. Okay, this is what I'm here for. This is where I'm going, this is my direction, and this is where I'm going to be heading. And to speak specifically about my purpose, my specific purpose is to empty myself of my creative potential and then inspire others to do the same. Because when you empty yourself of your potential, then that means you gave it your all. You left no stones unturned, and there's no way for you to have regrets, because you've done or will do everything that you can, so that at the end you can look back and be like, okay, yeah, I gave it my all. I can be happy with that, you know? And I think that's all we can really do. We could just do our very best, and then whatever our best attracts, that's sort of out of our control. So what's meant to be will be, and the only thing that we can control is the efforts that we put in. And if you give it your all, then there'll be no regrets at the end of your time. So for this week's weekly highlights, I would say it's the 3D modeling that really stands out, because I sort of fell into this rabbit hole. I don't need to be 3D modeling this much, but it's because I'm learning at the same time that I'm sort of excited to learn and sort of to discover how the software works. And obviously right there it's very visual. I have a 3D, it's basically a render, so you could see the fabric texture, the ribbing and whatnot, and then how it fits as a silhouette, and the construction, the pattern making. So there's a lot that goes into the 3D modeling. That's why I'm sort of so intrigued in playing around with it and learning more about it. But yeah, it got to that point where it sort of became a little bit distracting. Like I should be completing the Techpack, but I'm more focused on the little nuisance of 3D modeling the actual garment that comes with the territory, because obviously I'm still learning and I'm very intrigued, so I'm just trying to balance the two. But I'll start getting back on course and start completing the Techpack. But this is my creative process. It's me bouncing from 3D modeling to building the Techpack, and there's no right or wrong, man. It's just your creative process and your execution that matters at the end of the day. And we'll wrap that up. If you want to see more behind the scenes, be sure to follow at GALANACCI the Creator. That's GALANACCI.the.creator. That's on IG, that's on TikTok and YouTube. And then obviously if you want to follow the brand, at GALANACCI, and that'll be across all the social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. And be sure to join our waiting list at galanacci.com so that you don't miss any feature drops and whatnot. And if you've reached this far, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. And you already know what it is, man. Catch you on the next one. Peace.